Thanks so much for joining us this morning, Todd Davidson of the State Policy Network, to talk about the topic du jour being artificial intelligence. So, thanks so much for coming on to talk about it.
Yeah, happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Uh, I'm afraid to even say anything out loud about AI because by next week it'll be stale. I mean, nothing really ages, it changes so fast. But I did just read that Mark Zuckerberg has an AI agent who is performing his CEO duties for him. Did you see that?
I saw that, yeah.
Why
So,
not?
yeah.
Right?
And then he can just kick back, go down to his Hawaii bunker and just let Facebook run itself.
Yeah, I mean, I still haven't really dabbled in agentic AI, but I know it's right there and I'm going to want to do it soon because we're going to talk about AI in the think tank world. But, you know, I have to check legislation and hearings and seeing how those things are going every day. I can well imagine an AI agent doing that for me.
Yeah, if it's properly trained, right. And actually, you have so Show Me Institute, to give the audience broader context, is a
Please.
member of State Policy Network, and we have sister organizations like Show Me in states across the country. And the Libertas Institute, which is based out of Utah, did exactly what you're talking about. Connor Boyack, the CEO, built a legislative tracking system that then feeds into their scorecard that they keep track of legislation. And he said it took him about 8 hours of work to code the agentic AI. But now it does the work automatically. And of course, it needs fine tuning and it always has a final human observer that verifies everything. But yeah, it's being used for those purposes right now across the country.
So we're in the think tank world, and it's probably more of an art than a science. But at the state level, tracking the policies. Well, first of all, sort of thinking about the policies that we think would be best for Missouri, and then doing a bunch of research on those policies, and then creating content on those policies, and then trying to talk to legislators and hope that they see our point of view, and that they enact actual laws that reflect those policies. That's a really labor intensive job. And what do you like? Which parts of that could you see being picked up by AI?
Yeah, so I'm by no means an expert on AI, but I work with someone who is. And what was explained has been explained to me is AI is very good at synthesizing information. It's very good at predicting. It essentially predicts the next word. Is all AI is doing. It takes all these inputs and it predicts the next set of words, which comes out to us in sentences. So if you are able to give it certain inputs that say, I want you to look at these bills, I want you to look at these things, and give it sort of a walled garden, it can then be prompted to produce any type of analysis that you want. The reason you want that walled garden is because the AI can still hallucinate. It can make stuff up. And actually, this just went viral last week. And a lawyer down in Georgia went before the Georgia Supreme Court and had AI produce her entire argument.
Oh,
Cited 5 fictitious cases in her argument, and the judges, of course, called that out. So you have to give it its constraints and say, here are the data inputs. Now summarize this for me, and it can get you a pretty solid first draft of that summary. Of course, you're still going to need a human to go through and edit that and add voice and texture to it. But summarizing that data, saying, tell me which of these align with our principles or does not align with our principles, it would be very good at that kind of thing. What it's not going to be able to do uh, is is the creative part. When you think about what is the policy that we want to design for Missouri, what does Missouri need? It's not at the stage where it could do that. That's where you would still want Show Me Institute experts to be crafting those kind of things. But if something's already out there existing, it can summarize it and score it based on criteria that you give it pretty easily.
so given how quickly firms are moving towards AI, and in fact, mandating AI because it's such a time saver and productivity increaser, how does like a think tank um, position itself in that world? Because there's so much talk about AI just replacing all of our jobs, and maybe it does replace my job. I don't know. I've heard podcasts generated by AI in my voice. So it could be doing this job right now. I would like to think it wouldn't be as great, but how does a think tank then position itself? Like, what's our value add in that scenario?
So let's start by going back to what your mission and your objective is. So Show Me Institute, which by the way, I am a resident of Missouri, a
Nice.
big fan of the Show Me Institute, both from my SPN perspective, but also from my Missouri resident perspective. So you, I can say we in this case, because I'm on Team Show Me, have principles, free markets. We want a robust civil society, a thriving economy. We want the feds to get out of the way in a lot of cases. We want the government to get out of the way. And then how we execute that mission is through policy change. So you mostly at the state level. I know you also work on local level. So state and local policy change
Mhm.
is our objective. So then how do we go about that? We produce research and then we advocate. In some cases, talking directly to policymakers, communicating it out to the public through op-eds and things, so that the public then talks to lawmakers, and ultimately we get policies passed that lower the income tax, reduce barriers to work, and provide more options for kids in schools. So what AI is going to do is it's going to make research and content much easier to produce. And by research, I mean that summarization kind of research. It's going to make that kind of stuff extremely easy for folks to produce. Like everybody's going to have a research assistant right now. What AI cannot do is personal relationships. It will never be able to do that. What it also cannot do is tour the entire state of Missouri, know all of the history and relationships and connections of people throughout the state of Missouri. So I believe Show Me Institute and all of the affiliates across the country that are state and local based are going to have an advantage because you're in your community. You know people, you know policymakers, you know community leaders, you know people that are affected by your policies, and that's something that AI is not going to be able to do. AI can look at the statistics and arguments, academic literature, and it could put together a brief, and that could be useful. That would make your job more efficient. You'd be able to produce those things in a fraction of the time that you do right now. But then with that extra time, I would use that extra time to go out and build stronger relationships in the communities, and then use those relationships towards policy change.
What about grassroots then? Like more grassroots type stuff? And
Grassroots, very much. So AI is going to have an interesting relationship with grassroots. In one way, it actually makes it easier for grassroots individuals to engage their legislature. Uh, on the other hand, it's going to create a flood of grassroots engagement digitally. And so face-to-face grassroots engagement is going to have more impact. But right now, I'll tell you a story. It's based out of Hawaii. Um, Hawaii had the terrible fire that destroyed Lahaina in a few years back. Well, then Hawaii has terrible building codes. It's incredibly hard to build homes in Hawaii, and that town was completely destroyed. So the state needed to relax its building codes in order for homes to be rebuilt. Well, they weren't making this change. Well, Show Me's sister think tank, which is called the Grassroots Institute of Hawaii, built an AI platform that allowed individuals to go in and to submit testimony to the legislature.
Hmm.
Testimony is there's a higher bar on testimony, right? You can email your lawmakers pretty easily, but testimony goes into the legislative record. It has to follow a certain format. It has to be structured in a certain way. That's not something that grassroots individuals were very equipped to provide. So a think tank was able to provide the testimony and then would get grassroots to send emails to lawmakers. Well, what Grassroots Institute of Hawaii did is they built an AI agent so that an individual could say, "Hey, my house was burnt down. I need these things." And the AI agent would turn that into testimony and then submit that directly to the legislature. And it resulted in this skyrocketing number
I bet.
of testimonies being filed. And because of that, the legislature actually they said, "Wow, we've heard from 500 constituents. We've never heard from that many constituents before." So they relaxed their regulatory uh, regime, and now homes are being built in Lahaina much faster.
Did they
So that
know that AI was doing it? I mean, were the legislators like, "Okay, well, this is AI, so"
so they that is why they went through testimony.
Mm,
um, uh, the legislators' new emails were all they're not reading their emails anymore,
sure, sure.
right? They get thousands of them. But through testimony, the the AI was not making up the stories. The people had to fill out the
Uh,
content. They had to explain their story. The AI was just structuring it in a way to make sure that it got submitted into testimony. And so I do think it is a bit of an arms race. Like at some point you will the same thing that has happened in email will happen, where there'll just be thousands of pieces of testimony, you won't be able to read all of them. So there was a bit of a first mover advantage. And then once that happens and becomes ubiquitous, I do think what you predicted is going to happen, where legislators just say, "Oh, well, this is just AI facilitated," and that's where it's going to have to go back to face,
I think you're
bringing those
absolutely
people.
right. I think as more video content comes out and we all realize it's AI and, there's so much now that I just don't really believe that any videos are real anymore. I don't really believe pictures are real. I don't really believe music is real. Actors, I mean, and it doesn't necessarily bother me that much, but I think that we're gonna, because of that, because of all of our skepticism and unwillingness to believe in digital content, that things happening in real life right in front of us are going to take on higher and higher value, so that we know for sure that if I'm speaking to a legislator, it is me saying it and I am saying what's coming out of my head. But that's about the only way we're going to know if something is real or not, or the default's just going to become AI generated, right?
100%. I absolutely agree, and that's where I think organizations like Show Me are well positioned because you're in the state of Missouri. You can be in Jeff City, or you can be in St. Louis or Kansas City in those face-to-face relationships. It's going to make your government affairs personnel far more valuable. Your fundraisers who can be face-to-face with donors far more valuable. Grassroots activists that are face-to-face is going to put a premium on the face-to-face interactions for sure. I agree. We're just gonna get there's gonna be so much content out there. You're still gonna need content because that gives you credibility, right? It gives you what you're gonna talk about, but then you've got to pair that with the face-to-face interaction. Otherwise, it'll just get ignored. I agree.
And you can definitely see also the missing, or like the gap when people are generating stuff through AI and they don't know the subject matter enough to be able to, like you said about the attorney, but there is definitely a role for humans to say, I mean, I do this all the time with AI. I'll say, give me 5 of these things, give me 5 infographics or something like that. But the human has to know which one is the best one or the which one makes the most compelling argument. AI just simply really can't do that. While some people would love to believe that AI is going to run the world, I do believe that there is an emerging role for human discernment to know which AI products are better than other AI products. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, 100%. I think the sweet spot here is utilizing AI to make yourself more efficient or do things that you
Mhm.
don't like doing, but then that raises you up into that discernment phase where you're the one. I do this all the time. I'm having conversations with AI to increase the outputs, but if I'm making I should not spend any time making infographics, right? Like that is I'm not good at it,
But
but
yeah,
then I can have a conversation with AI where it produces that infographic much more effectively than I could. I also found if you again if you have to put the prompting on it, but helping you establish or find those options, find the particular sources that you're looking for. It can help you. Say you want to write a survey on school choice research. It can help you gather all of
write
those
it.
materials, yeah, much faster. But then, yeah, you have to make sure that it's of high quality. Um,
What do you think about the current, and I don't know how long it's gonna last, the current sort of pushback on AI generated pictures? I mean, do you think that that is just a learning phase we need to all get through, and or, some top artists on Spotify have been determined to be AI generated. Like there's
Really?
it yeah. Like
Wow.
like the number 2 Christian artist is just AI and across all genres. And they have millions of subscribers and, they're just AI generated music based on what AI knows we all like. So we do like it.
Yeah.
So does it matter that there's no real person writing the music? I don't know. I don't know.
It's kinda sad. I mean,
I know, like, the initial
yeah,
reaction is, "Oh, that's
yeah.
sad," but then after a while, you're like, "I don't know. I don't
I
know."
could I I there is intense pushback to all things AI. AI is, very unpopular right now. I saw some polling, just last week that showed that it is the number one concern, of, voters. And there will be a populist pushback against AI. We're seeing this pushback against the data centers. There's
Yeah,
even polling that showed that people, a plurality of the population, believes that it's immoral to use AI. And I think it's at a core some of the what you're talking about here, where yes, there's this very popular, it's satisfying music, but it loses some human element because there's not a human behind it.
yeah.
So I do think we're going to see a lot of pushback to AI on multiple dimensions. There's that cultural dimension. There's the economic anxiety dimension right now, a fear that AI is driving up energy costs, a fear that AI could take my job. There's going to be pretty significant pushback. Right now, we're mostly seeing that in um, anti-data center, trying to stop the building up of data centers across the country. And there are going to be, I was looking at some Democratic pollsters today that were saying in order to, they were pitching that Democrats should advocate for a guaranteed job, guaranteed income, guaranteed health care, guaranteed home if you lose your job to AI. And so that kind of populist messaging is going to resonate with a lot of the public.
Yeah.
Now, what is the response going to be to that? What are the other solutions that we could advocate for that both allow the continued growth and opportunity, and also allow the continued innovation around AI because we're going to need AI to continue to develop.
It's already here. I mean,
Yeah.
like, we're doing this in reverse order, and I think my opinion is that massive new technologies always gets pushed back, like the car, people are like, "I'm riding my horse," car, and then we start designing roads for cars and, of course, calculators, they got a lot of the internet, a lot of pushback, but ultimately, people decided that they liked it better, and I think AI is the same, we just have to figure out how to work with it. And I know that it is threatening to take a lot of jobs, but that just sort of I see it more as as it gives us an opportunity to become like the expert over AI. And like AI is not going to be the expert. We still need the human component. Um like you said, face to face interactions, legislators are still going to know what Missourians want and how to represent their constituents. And those are real world issues. And the data center pushback is because I don't want to look out my window and hear a buzz and look at a data center, like I don't want all that land to go to data centers. That's a real world in person issue. But I just think we're going to have to learn to work with it. I don't think robots are gonna maybe. This is where I don't wanna say things out loud, but maybe the robots will take over the world. I don't know, but personally, I feel like, it is helpful to get a lot more content out because you don't know what's gonna resonate with stakeholders, like, if it's a video or an infographic or a report or another report or a different type of the fact that we can generate these things much more quickly, I think is a benefit to us, and it makes the in-person time more meaningful to me.
It's also, I mean, you're absolutely right. When a new technology comes out, there's gonna be pushback. And then so organizations like ours have to figure out what's the policy framework that allows that innovation to thrive without getting in the way, without policy getting in the way. And fortunately, we have a lot of those policies already. Like Avery, your colleague at Show Me Institute, talks a lot about energy. So one of the biggest pushbacks on AI is that it's driving up energy costs. Well, there's some research that shows that that's not quite what's happening here. What's happening is a lot of green policies that got passed in the 2010s are coming to roost. The
Oh.
renewable portfolio standards and those things are really what's driving up energy costs. But even still, what can we do to make energy more affordable and reliable, even with a bunch of data centers added to the grid? And Avery's got good policy on this, expanding nuclear power, expanding the use of reliable energy sources. And
And
so,
separating out consumer electricity from data center electricity, like, you can carve these things differently.
yeah, that's another, yeah,
Yeah.
what is that called? Consumer regulated
Yes.
electricity, where the data center has its own power source.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so there are
We're smart.
policies
We
out
can
there
figure
that
these
can
things out, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
that can mitigate it. Um, and on the job question, again, unfortunately, AI is happening at the same time that we're having a cost of living continued inflation. It's one more thing that is driving anxiety. It's not the root cause of what's going on. We've got other factors that we need to do to get inflation
Mhm.
under control, particularly on the energy side, especially.
Yeah,
Um,
but I do think it's great that we have so many opportunities to expand or improve how we do things. And, in our little corner of the world, which is think tanks, it's like we've been doing things kind of the same way for a long time. So I think a new approach to how we do business is a welcome change, right? And I think we could be a lot more effective. So,
Yeah, I think we're going to see far more productive think tanks, particularly on the research
yeah.
side. I was just and the litigation. I was up talking to Wisconsin Institute for Law and Liberty. They litigate a lot of cases. With the advent of AI, every lawyer essentially got a legal clerk. Like right away, they went from 9 lawyers and a handful of legal clerks to 9 lawyers that now each have their own AI legal clerk, and it's dramatically expanded the number of cases that they could take on.
Yeah.
Um, as one example. And same thing on the research side, on the marketing side, production of content is going to be quite a bit easier as well, or more cost effective.
Yeah, well, I appreciate having a chance to talk to somebody who has got a positive perspective on it because I do hear a lot of doom and gloom when it comes to AI. But like I was reminded by somebody that many of the scenarios and movies and books about AI are very dystopian, but perhaps it'll be utopian. We don't know. It's all in how we approach it, right?
Yeah, yeah, it is. It's going to be an exciting new world that we live in, and we're right
Anyone
on the
with little
frontier.
kids like you, I mean, who knows what the world's going to look like when they're going to college. So you got to stay flexible, right?
Yep. Stay
That's awesome.
flexible and always be learning.
Well, thanks so much, Todd. I appreciate you coming and talking to us about it. And we'll have to talk about it again sometime soon when the whole thing has changed.
Yeah, sounds good. Thanks,
Great.
Susan.
Thanks.